Major support for Out to Lunch Acadiana is provided by the law firm of Jones Walker, established in 1937 with over 375 attorneys in offices throughout the U.S., providing a comprehensive range of services to a local, national, and international client base. JonesWalker.com. Support also comes from Wyndham Garden Lafayette.
From Cafe Vermilionville in Lafayette, we're out to lunch with Professor of Finance and Director of the award-winning Berken Road Reports, Peter Raschuti. It's business, Acadiana style.
Hi, I'm Peter Raschuti. Welcome to Out to Lunch. Thomas Edison was the 19th century Steve Jobs. He invented the motion picture camera, the record player, and the light bulb. Incidentally, Edison was known as the Wizard of Menlo Park, which is the same part of Northern California where Steve Jobs lived and worked too. That's just a geographical footnote. What I was going to say was Edison explained his genius as being 1/10 inspiration and 9/10 perspiration. That formula can be applied to success in business too. It's pretty easy to find perspiration. It's working hard. It's a lot more difficult to find inspiration. And not just the great idea that gives rise to a business or a product, but the many ideas that you need to come up with along the way to make adjustments and even radical changes, which is in today's business jargon called pivots. You probably know all about delegating, perspiration, hiring or partnering to share the workload, but you might be a lot less familiar with who to turn to when you need inspiration. Yes, there are people who specialize in having great ideas, like Jeff Benton and Aileen Bennett. Aileen Bennett describes herself as a roaming creative director, an idea thinker-upper, and a brand experience consultant. Aileen has had a unique perspective on making a business successful. She says, for example, it's often the little details that determine how customers really do feel about your business. The look on the receptionist's face, the smell in your hallway, the sign in your bathroom, the attitude of your staff when they're on break. Very interesting stuff. Aileen, welcome to Out to Lunch.
Thank you for having me.
Now, Jeff Benton is the founder of a company called Stronger Company. Now, Jeff is one of only 150 people worldwide certified to consult with businesses using the EOS system. EOS stands for Entrepreneurial Operating System. It's a business model and a set of tools that synchronize all the pieces of a business to optimize its chances of turning great ideas and great people into great companies. Jeff is also a certified Dale Carnegie Leadership Instructor and a co-founder of the enormously successful electronics company, Sonus Audio Electronics. Jeff, welcome to Out to Lunch.
Hi, thank you for having me.
You've got a great background. Aileen and Jeff, the kinds of services you offer businesses are both, actually, let's think of as very progressive. For a company to embrace unique perspectives like yours, Aileen, or a proprietary retooling of a business like your strategy, Jeff, usually requires a certain amount of enlightenment on the part of the company. It also requires courage and capital to pay for this kind of investment. This is the kind of entrepreneurial thinking you'd typically expect to find in places like maybe Austin or Silicon Valley. I would think it would be surprising to see a large number of companies taking these kinds of chances in Acadiana, but both of you chose to move here. So I guess my preconceptions are wrong, or y'all work a lot out of town. Jeff, let's start with you. Are your clients mostly local?
I have several that are local, but from here, and I didn't plan it this way, I have clients from here to Vermont,
Whoa.
Texas, Arkansas.
How do they hear about you?
Huh?
How do they hear about you?
Interestingly is what I do, EOS. When people find out what EOS is and traction, they become fascinated, and people who implement it successfully just tell their friends. And so if they are part of a best practices group in whatever industry they're in from different parts of the country, they tell each other. And then so people in my region will call. So,
wow, I think like a young president's organization.
Yeah,
Maybe
exactly.
That kind of thing. Wow.
Yeah. YPO, Vistage, those types of.
And when I read the intro, it sounded like you had taken Dale Carnegie, but you actually ran the Dale Carnegie program.
Yeah, I was the regional director for this area. Yeah, I did that for 5 years.
In public speaking, they say is the greatest fear, I guess, for people.
Right,
so
right.
Here's,
the joke was, I was trying to remember who said it, but the joke was when you go to a funeral, most people would rather be in the casket than the one giving the eulogy.
Yes, that says a lot on this. And one last question for you, Jeff, before we go to Aileen, is what about making this presentation to a company that's never heard of EOS or whatever. How do you kind of break the ice about it?
Well, most of the time, most companies it's amazing, very, very few companies were taught how to run a business extremely well. And so they're going to have similar issues. So every company hits a ceiling, every department hits a ceiling, every person hits a ceiling somewhere in their career. But they're hitting a ceiling, and typically they're frustrated with profits or lack thereof, with growth, with people issues, or they're trying everything they can and nothing's working, or they just want their life back. And so when you talk about EOS and what it is and how it works and the fact that it helps all those things, it connects immediately.
Well, that is it. And Aileen, I've got to ask you, I know I'm pretty good at this, and from your accent, I know you're from the Ville Platte area. And,
just north of Ville Platte.
You're just north, yes. Let's see, now you were happily in England, and then it says that you met your husband over there, and he was that the way this worked? Or like you met him at like an Acadian pub or something? How did this happen?
I wish that was the story. We met, there's a thing called the internet, and we met on
yeah,
there.
I've been reading all about it.
But many, many years ago, like wind-up internet days, so it was before dating sites, before any of that. So we've been married what year is it? 17 years. So
and he was Acadian, right?
He still is Acadian, yes.
I mean, he was Acadian in London, I guess.
He wasn't in London.
No, he wasn't.
Here.
He was here.
He was here. I was in London.
Oh, I see.
The
Across
internet's
the pond.
like an international thing.
Oh yeah, I hear about it. Yeah, that's you've definitely got. Now, what about yourself? Where do your clients come from? Jeff seems to, they were all over the place. What about yourself?
Mine's the same. I have a base of clients here, which is great because you can meet them. But I have London, I have New York, I have Austin recently, so it's all over the place.
And Aileen, the things you're talking about, sometimes they're little things that people that are running that company overlook. What's it like to present it to them? I guess you almost have to couch it a little. You don't want to be too blunt, or maybe blunt's good. Maybe you're a blunt person.
You get away with a lot with an English accent. Most people are trying to define their brand, and there's a very crowded brand world out there, and people start off being too generic. So my job is to go in and work right back from their values and find out who they really are. And so we do everything to reflect that brand, and then your customers become lifelong customers. So it's about the quirkiness of the brands, and I tend to work with brands who like those little clever ideas and that they want to stand out in a crowded market. And so that's my job, is to find ways that are genuinely them to show to their customers.
You know what I would think when you said that would be there's certain clients you just would fit better with than others. I mean, is that true? Or
my job when I meet a client the first time is to find them someone better, cheaper, or faster. And if I can't find any of those things, then they might be the right client for me.
Well, that's the way it ought to be. There's you do some of the things that I think people would think you do. Like, I mean, if a logo needs to be designed or something like that, is that sometimes how you get in the door and then you get to talk to them about the bigger picture?
I still have no idea how I actually get in the door. They kind of find me, and with every client it's completely different. So sometimes they just know something's missing. Sometimes they just want to. I do a thing where I rent my brain, and my body obviously is with it most of the time.
That's Lanya.
But they can just pay for 2 or 3 hours and just ask questions. So a lot of it comes from that. That can be an isolated thing. I give them ideas and they can go away and work on their own. Or they can bring me in or bring a team in and I can direct that team. So depending on the size of client, depending on what they need, everything is different.
I would like that conversation where I think you have a good product, but your hallway smells bad. That would be...
Sometimes that's a huge factor. Most of the time it's not the logo. The logo, and as a designer, I shouldn't say this, but the logo isn't always the most important thing. It's just a representation of your brand. You can have the coolest, cleverest logo in the world, but if people, when they see it, remember a bad experience, then your brand is that bad experience. So
like negative goodwill or something. There's now, Jeff, what about... when I think of, you've got EOS and then you did the Dale Carnegie thing, but yet you have a business background from LSU, right? I mean, you have a business degree. Was there sort of a feeling like, wait a minute, this is part I still don't know after coming out of business school?
Oh, absolutely. Matter of fact, it was like if I graduated in December, in January is when we went with Sonus, and the three of us were sitting in a room together looking at each other and totally scared, not a clue. and I graduated in international trade and finance. And so for years, actually, it was quite painful not knowing just how to run a business. And even though you can do business school, but it's kind of like learning how to fly an airplane. Once you get in the airplane, it's a whole different ballgame, right? And so you can't just do the ground school. You got to get in it to really, and then it's in that situation, like when I work with clients, we're in the room with the leadership team on a regular basis, so at least five days a year. And you have to get extremely open and honest as a leadership team if you're going to be successful. When I mean open, like extremely vulnerable. You could say, hey, I totally messed this up, or hey, you're smarter than me at this. I need your help, or hey, I'm about to have a nervous breakdown. Okay, I just drank a bottle of whiskey, and then, but as a leadership team, you say, okay, that's an issue. We're going to help each other out. It's not a judgmental thing. And so in leadership teams, that's one key component of having an amazing company. Well, back then, let's just take that one component. No one told us that. Say, hey guys, you got to be open and honest and vulnerable. You got to be amazing. And then you have to be open and honest to say, hey, and figure out if the person is not the right person on the team, because sometimes it's just not a fit, and they're hard decisions to be made. So we call it vision, traction, and healthy. Vision, the team needs to be on the same page of where they're going, how they're going to get there, so they see the exact same future. Traction from the standpoint of putting into the behaviors on a daily, weekly basis that force them to run the business well, okay? And then healthy is what I just described, is you just got to be you got to be able to, as a leadership team, we say this, to get naked, figuratively, in front of each other and say, hey, this is
No, just figuratively, sorry. Aileen was sketching things here. Aileen, actually both of you, would I be surprised at the diversity of the industries you service?
Yeah, completely. I have very formal companies. I have a large bank. I have a chocolate company. And the great thing is the more involved you get in the different industries, the more you can take something you learn in one and apply it to another. And that is, I think, an advantage to work with lots and lots of different industries. It's not about the industry for me, it's about the values they base things on. And a lot of my clients tend to be similar in that way, but they show up very differently in the world.
So they wouldn't think of themselves as similar, but you see the similarities in the, and Jeff, I got to tell you, when I sat on the board of a company and when we would bring in consultants, first there were always a lot of help, but it was initially kind of, I don't know, it bristled in the beginning because you're thinking to yourself, geez, I've been with this company 18 years. This guy's been looking at us for 2 weeks. How the heck can he, give us advice? But what is it about the consultant? Is it the fact that they're not in the weeds?
Well, first of all, what we do, we go through a specific process of walking them through the process to get there. So we're following it. But having the outside person looking in, who's not emotionally involved, and who is looking out for the success of the company, right? Not of any individual on the team or in the company. No, I'm here for the success of the organization, right? Because if we can get success there, then everybody is going to have a better life, including the family members of the staff, the customers. So you focus on the company, and so then you're not emotionally involved or dysfunctionally emotionally involved, so to say. And so it's like having a psychologist or a coach or you just need somebody from the outside sometimes. I have a coach, and I'm like, okay, tell me where I'm being an idiot.
Coach. The coach has a coach.
Absolutely.
That's so great.
Yeah. I said, tell me where I'm being an idiot. I want you to kick me in the nose, kick me in the teeth if you need to, because I know that I'm doing things that I can't see.
Yeah. And when I looked up EOS because I knew you were coming on the show, and it's what is it, like 12 categories that you look at in EOS? It seems like there's very kind of there's just a bunch of divisions I saw.
Yeah. So there's 6 key components, right? If you're going to have a successful business, and so Gino,
12 was alcoholism. That's
that's okay.
That's where I got the 12 from. Sorry.
Back to the alcohol.
Doing more background.
So with Gino Wickman, who wrote the book Traction, he says he was in a YEO group, or an EO group, which was a bunch of different business owners. There's 40 of them, and they're all complaining about the same issues in their companies. And he says this is crazy, because he had done a successful turnaround and sold the company. And he says, we know how great companies behave. Why? Because we buy from them every day. There's books written about them every day. And he says, so let's simplify it so we can take that out to the masses of companies. So the majority of the companies I work with are 2 to 50 million in revenue, 10 to 250 employees. So that's kind of our niche. And so he says, let's simplify it and take it to somebody who's never, they don't have to be in, and they can even have never gone to high school and they can figure it out. I mean, it doesn't matter. You don't need a big degree for it. And so he says, what are the 6 key categories? And then you go through it. Vision, which I mentioned a second ago. People. There's no way you can achieve what you want, the vision of the company, without great people, right? And when I say people, it's when a leadership team stops becoming afraid to make the right decision about, look, we have the wrong person on the team. We love him. Say, look, I love you. It's just not a right fit for our organization. Because you can't achieve the vision without great people, right? Yeah. Third key component's data, is being able to know exactly where you are at any given time, and be able to, you can be on the beach and someone brings you your scorecard, we call it, and you know exactly how the company's performing. And then you have issues, being able to solve issues successfully. Then you have process, being able to set your processes, and then traction's the last one, is bringing, because we say vision without traction, meaning having a vision without being able to know how to get it done.
You're listening to Out to Lunch. I'm Peter Raschuti. I'm talking with Jeff Benton from Stronger Company and Aileen Bennett from Creating Clever. Aileen, when you were in England, were you doing something like this, or is this something that came once you hit the States? The Beatles were big when they came over. I'm just trying to...
I started, the first 10 years of my career in England were as a graphic designer, and I worked in graphic design studios, and then it ended up freelancing, working for myself and lecturing at colleges on design and communication. Then just before I came to the States, I won a contest and got the title of the best humorous speaker in the UK and Ireland.
No way.
So when I moved here, it seemed a natural thing I could move into speaking full time. You understand professional speakers better than they do in Europe. So I became a speaker and traveled around the country for the first 10 years I was here. And during that, I got to speak about communication, which to me is the same thing as design. Right. It's just in a different way. But I got to see and work with a lot of companies out of view of anyone else. Before I did a speech, I'd go into the company for a couple of days and learn about them. And so when I missed design and I wanted to put the two together, so then I got to do the whole communication thing and design together. And the branding just works so well with that, because your logo is important, but how you answer the phone is just as important. Sometimes you need staff training rather than design.
Right.
And so now, because I have this unique experience, I get to look at it from all of those sides and combine everything I love.
I'm glad you guys are on the show together. So, sometimes people...
Yeah, I'm glad to be here with Aileen.
Sometimes I'll be somewhere and people say, I love the show. Last week, why were those two people put on the same show? This one's really working, though. This is going to be great. Aileen, Jeff, it's the time for the part of the show we call your brother-in-law. You're finally wrapping up a long day at work. When your phone rings, it's your brother-in-law. Normally, he only calls when he wants you to babysit his Great Dane while he goes to Boulder for a weed weekend getaway, but this time the conversation's a little different. Jeff, your brother-in-law has a great idea. You know he's been working at the Racino, right? And he's had a flash of inspiration. What if you could combine something else with gambling? Something, for example, that's the most popular thing on the internet. You know what that is? Cats. So your brother-in-law says, with your talent at setting up a business, what if the two of you opened the country's first cat racetrack? This is an excellent idea. He's not exactly sure what it is right now. It's just an idea, but he knows you'll run it and turn it into something awesome. What do you say? Can you develop the Catsino?
The Catsino.
So instead of horses, we're gonna.
The Catsino.
Could people come out for that?
You think? Would people come out for that?
What would you approach the guy with that idea? Would you use the 6 points, I guess?
No. I would tell him. I'd say, look, you first have to figure out because you can't, even though you got to be in the right market with the right product. Right. And so would I say, I would say, now tell me, how much research did you do on that particular topic, the Catsino? Now, would people attend? You know, we would actually, I would ask them to research it a whole bunch before. See, the operations piece is where the area that I work in. And I will tell them straight out and say, guys, if you're not in the right market, you don't have the product, it's just not going to work.
So you would...
I would probably steer them against it.
So I can see exactly your approach, though. He's come with this idea, and you're like putting it back on him to answer these...
Yeah, actually the majority of the companies I work with, I mean, they're already existing. So, and I'm trying to think of, would I do that? I personally would not do the casino.
Because cats don't run on a straight line. That's the other problem.
Let me back up. So if it's a casino, casinos are traditionally could be very profitable. Right? If the cat part draws people to the casino and they travel from all over the country to come see it, now that's different.
That is
right.
Excellent.
If it's the only casino in America, I can see it.
That is so. And oddly enough, Aileen has always been. You've been writing notes down, and I think you're going to open this darn thing.
Cat cafes are huge in Japan, and they have them in New York and London now.
For people that aren't familiar with that, what happens? You get to pet a cat?
I have never been in them because I find that a little bit scary. But yeah, there are cats already there, and you get to pet on them. And
while you're drinking?
While you're drinking tea and things, and there's cat cafes all over the world now. But cats, because they don't run in a straight line.
That's weird, Aileen. I'm going to have to.
I've never been.
You think maybe that's what Lafayette needs? Like a nutria that you just pet or something.
I never tell anyone their ideas are bad. I ask more and more about them and try and find out what the thing behind them is they really want. Does he want to open this cat gambling because he wants to make lots of money, or because he loves cats, or because... And so I think you kill people's ideas when you say they're bad, and I would just be totally interested. I mean, look at the sponsorship you could get for cats.
Oh, yeah.
And you could also have afternoon races as well as evening to capture a whole different market. And because cats don't run in a straight line, you've got like intricate courses
it would
and
be
mazes.
so hard to bet on them.
And
there's a...
Yeah, and you could do the cat bingo. There's so much you could do
Save
with
money
cats.
on jockeys. This is great. Well, now, Aileen, I actually have your own brother-in-law question. Your brother-in-law has an idea for expanding your business. This is great. He's going to try and help you out. There's one thing that every business needs, cleaning. He and his two buddies have 100 hours of community service to work off. What if they set up a little cleaning company and you line them up with work? They'll be real cheap up until 100 hours. They're like, it's basically free. That'll give them a chance to get their business tightened up so that when you start billing companies for their services, they'll be good to go. And of course, you keep a cut of the commission. What do you say? Are there opportunities for expanding into a cleaning division at your company?
Yes, I always say yes. Yeah. I mean, what if your job was to empty the trash cans at the end of the day and take all the ideas that other people have thrown away?
Oh.
I think you just need an angle on anything. You could do naked cleaning. I'd be fine with that.
Oh, that is...
as long as you have an angle when you stand out in your thing, then clever cleaning.
I think opening with naked on anything is terrific for a novelty.
I've heard this about you.
Let me get back, because we're talking about brother-in-laws here. You must get into businesses. I don't know where this went to. Is it tough to work with a business that's a family business?
There are definitely unique situations, and you have to address them. I've worked with a few family businesses, and we normally try and get them comfortable enough to air that stuff first.
Okay,
but,
like I hate my sister.
Yes,
that's good.
But then we remind them that they are a family, and that's even more important. And I think once you remind them of the bigger picture, that they love these people. I also work with some big businesses who consider themselves a family. And so it's really nice to see both angles. And I think just respecting people, whatever they do, and encouraging them. And some of that's, it's like Jeff does, it's finding people the right roles. You were talking earlier about it's people might not be functioning very well, but if somebody's going to work and doing what they're best at, then everybody wins. And so sometimes it's moving that around, and whether that's a family or a company, it's very, very similar.
And tell me the chronology when both of you go into a client. You get the meeting going, do you then do some research before that first meeting, I guess?
Absolutely. To learn, about the industry, about the company, what's going on, what are the hot issues that they're typically facing. Definitely get some background, but normally you get great clarity that first meeting, because I always love to ask the question, what keeps you up at 2 o'clock in the morning?
Yeah,
exactly. If you can wave the magic wand and change something, what would you change in the business today?
the first time I meet a company, sometimes it's deliberately cold. If they want ideas, then they don't want me to know. They want me to come in as an outsider. And most time they want me because they want something quirky and different, so they know the way I
And they
I
know
act
about your
is-
funny award.
Yes.
Yes.
No, I don't tell them that.
I would open with that. That's what I would do.
But often I do a walkthrough, and I mean, the other day I was in some premises, and there was a lovely dried fake plant on the reception desk, and I just stopped and said, "Has this ever made anybody smile?" And when they said no, I put it in the trash can.
Oh.
So they're used to me being a little bit different. They expect that kind of creative, quirky difference. So I play that up.
Clients get
obviously.
together. What did Aileen do to you?
My clients are
It's like-
never allowed to meet.
Oh, they're
each
not
other.
allowed to meet. That's the best part
That
of
would
all.
be terrible.
I started out today's show by talking about the creative genius of Thomas Edison and Steve Jobs and how they both worked and lived in the same part of Northern California. Maybe there's something in the water in Northern California, but maybe there's something in the air here in Acadiana, and that is change. With the realignment of the oil and gas business, there are a lot of talented, creative people who don't want to leave Acadiana and who are branching out into all kinds of other businesses. Jeff and Aileen, these new ventures are going to be vastly helped by the resources that you bring to them. It's a really exciting and transformative time to be in Acadiana, and I thank you both for taking the time today to join me on Out to Lunch.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. My guests on Out to Lunch today have been Jeff Benton, founder of Stronger Company, and Aileen Bennett, roaming creative director and brand experience consultant at Creating Clever. You can find out more about Jeff and Aileen's consultancy and creativity by following the links in our websites, krvs.org and itsacadiana.com. Today's show is recorded live over lunch at Cafe Vermilionville in Lafayette. Cafe V is open Monday through Friday for lunch and 6 nights a week for dinner in a courtyard that sets the scene for fine Louisiana cuisine. The producer of our show is Grant Morris. Our technical producer is Eric Merle. Our researcher is Ann Christian. Our theme song, Encore Monsieur Nice Guy, is written by Mitch Foreman and performed by Mitch Foreman and Andre Michaud. Our Acadiana business consultants are Pete Prados from Innovate Acadiana, Zach Barker from The Opportunity Machine, and Dr. Blake Escaday. If you want to know what we look like, and you really should, you can find these photos from our show on the website and Facebook page. The photos were taken today by Gwen Aucoin. You can get this show as a podcast. You can listen to past shows. You can keep up with us on all kinds of social media by going to our websites, itsacadiana.com and krvs.org. Support for Out to Lunch Acadiana comes from Wyndham Garden Lafayette, located off Pinhook near Calise Saloon. Wyndham Garden Lafayette is pet and family friendly with free parking, free Wi-Fi, and meeting and event spaces for weddings, reunions, and all occasions. Additional support comes from ABiz Magazine and AcadianaBusiness.com, the essential information source for business decision makers throughout the One Acadiana region. Out to Lunch is a production of I&O Broadcasting for itsacadiana.com and KRVS 88.7 FM. I'm Peter Rischuti. Thanks for joining me. I look forward to meeting you again next week around the lunch table here at Cafe Vermilionville for more business, Acadiana style, on Out to Lunch.
Major support for Out to Lunch Acadiana is provided by the law firm of Jones Walker, established in 1937 with over 375 attorneys and offices throughout the U.S., providing a comprehensive range of services to a local, national, and international client base. JonesWalker.com. Support also comes from Wyndham Garden Lafayette.